And at 50-1, there's definitely worse bets out there.
Okay, well, I guess it's never too early to start drinking in Ireland, but with that said, I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist. 50-1. Hey guys, welcome to Stoppage Time, right here on WagerTalk TV, EPL edition. We're going to look at 3 games: Brentford, Everton, Liverpool, West Ham, and then the North London Derby, Arsenal and Tottenham. Obviously, that is the game of the weekend. With me from WagerTalk.com, it's Pavlos Laguretos, Nick Borrman, and Kevin Dolan. Guys, we saw some fantastic Champions League games across the last couple of days, and we're going to cover match day 2 of the Champions League on next Thursday's show. They don't return until the 3rd and 4th of October. They're taking next week off, but we'll cover those games on Thursday, so you've got plenty of time to get some action down on it. Kev, what were your thoughts, Champions League last couple of days?
Pretty good, Carmine. I only got involved on Tuesday. I went 2-0. I had Newcastle AC Milan under. Really like that. Obviously finished 0-0, so no sweat there. Had PSG money line as well. Like them obviously over Dortmund. I didn't think Dortmund offer a whole pile in Champions League this year. I took Wednesday off. I thought Wednesday was a tricky day. I didn't really like anything on the card. I stuck up a free play on Bayern Munich, Manchester United, both teams to score. Bayern Munich and both teams to score combined, which ended up cashing as well. But yeah, Wednesday looked a lot trickier to me on the card as a whole. But yeah, exciting, and at least what my thoughts, at least on Tuesday, panned out correct, I should say.
Yeah, the funny thing, Kev, is before I go to Pavlos, is I released 5 plays over the 2 days. I should have gone 5-0. And when I say I should have gone, it's not one of those ones where something happens during the game. Right at the end of the game, and back-to-back days, we get Atletico Madrid. I've got them at a pick'em in the game. So a draw is obviously a push. The Lazio goalie comes up and scores a header right at the end of the game. They don't even restart the game. The game ends with that header that goes into the net. And then Bayern Munich laying a goal and up 4-2, final corner kick of the game. And it's somehow, I don't even think he meant to put it in, but it went off that fat head of God, what's his name there? The Pavlos knows his name, Casemiro, and into the net. 4-3. They don't even restart the game. It ends right there. 4-3. 2 pushes that should have been wins, Pavlos. But you had some unfortunate stuff of your own, so I'm not going to harp on mine that long.
Yeah, that's true. I had Sevilla versus Lens money line, Sevilla money line yesterday as my 5%. Match started great. Sevilla take the lead at the 9th minute, but then, I don't know, something happened. They couldn't really get it going. Lens, who are just terrible this season, I keep fading them. I also faded them in this spot, but, it was probably the best match of the season they've ever had, and it was a draw, to be honest. But, it's a long season till the final in June. Last season I did great. I think 9-3 with the 5% in the Champions League, so I'm not scared at all. I'm a bit frustrated by, how Sevilla missed a couple of chances there to get the job done. But we did get a nice 2 wins and one push in the MLS. I'm actually more excited in the MLS than the Champions League match day 1, which was a really weird match day 1, if you ask me. Benfica lost to Salzburg. A lot of people were on Inter Milan and didn't get the job done. Real Madrid really struggled to beat Union Berlin. So we see these smaller sides being much more competitive when they play against bigger sides. And of course, we also have the early kickoff matches were totally disastrous. I didn't touch anything, but Galatasaray down 2-0. Then they came back for a 2-2 draw. Just be careful of these early kickoffs. But I'm super excited to talk some EPL matches on the weekend because I'm 4-0 in the weekend in the season with these EPL sides, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, good to hear, Pavlos. And of course, Nick, can't forget you, 5% winner yesterday. I was on that play as well, too, as a 4%er. Columbus, easy winner. And I still have to remind people, I say this over and over again on Twitter, on every social media platform I can get on. I'm a season ticket holder, but it's fade TFC. Toronto just continues to lose, even with Jordi Alba and Lionel Messi coming out within the first 37 minutes of that game due to muscle fatigue. They still beat Toronto 4-0. But Nick, congratulations on your easy winner last night.
Yeah, thank you. MLS, fantastic. 4-0 day yesterday. So Champions League was frustrating. I was on two favorites that should have won by a combined 10-0, Real Madrid and Man City, but neither one could cover. So 1-1 in totals, 0-2 on those two favorites. That's all right. Move on. MLS, not going to harp on it. And hopefully we continue and get back into domestic league action this weekend. Premier League, I do like this week's cards. So I'm excited to talk about the games today.
Yeah, let's get right to it, guys, because I know Kevin is dying to talk about this first game right now. So we're going to talk about it. It is Brentford and Everton. Brentford -124. The draw's +272. Everton still looking for their first win of the season. 4 losses, 1 draw, +345. I feel like we should get a bigger price on them, considering they haven't won a game yet. Kev, I'm going to go to you, and I know you're going to take us in a different route as far as this game goes, because you don't have a lot to discuss on it. But from my point of view, I looked at how to play this game, and I finally landed on taking the Brentford team total. It is at 1.5, -115. 3 games at home thus far. They've scored a couple of goals in 2 of 3 games, with the other one a game against Crystal Palace ending 1-1. Those Crystal Palace games are always low scoring nonetheless, but I'm taking the team total here. I think that if they get one early, they'll be able to find another one before this game is over. So team total over 1.5, -115 for me. Give me your thoughts on this game or these teams.
You know, I'm so excited about this game, Carmine. I'm speechless because I've got absolutely nothing. I could see goals in this one. I could see no goals. I see Everton grinding out a draw. I could see Brentford winning outright. So I'm going to avoid the match completely. But instead, you're right. I actually fired on a future concerning one of these teams. Only this morning, actually, I came across it. I'll say this now, you don't have to join me on this, but I love quirky historical bets. Absolutely love them for some coffee money. I was back in Ireland 2020, Brendan Gleeson, the actor. Everyone must know Brendan Gleeson, right? He was doing narratory for the original Bloody Sunday, and he mentioned the 4 provincial winners from that year, 1920, 100-year anniversary to the day. Dublin, Galway, Tipperary, Cavan, and so on. And Tipperary and Cavan were expected to do absolutely nothing that year in 2020. Huge outsiders. But like I said, once I heard it was the 100-year anniversary to the day, I absolutely love a bit of history and decided to back them in a parlay 40-1. Walk to the window, cash the ticket. Like I said, I just love historical bets. And we got the same kind of quirky nature in this one. This is a very similar situation. Everton are off to their worst Premier League start since the 1994-95 season. They were absolutely awful that year. I remember that year actually ended up costing Mike Walker his job. But despite how bad they were that season, you know, they changed managers around Christmas time, I believe, to Joe Royle, and went on a magical FA Cup run all the way to Wembley to beat Manchester United in the final. And the kicker for this one is, look, Everton on the exact same points total right now that they were that year. Same stage of the season, same points haul. And subsequently, as we said, went on that magical cup run to finish out the season. You know, they beat Newcastle in the quarterfinals as big underdogs. They beat Tottenham in the semi-finals as big underdogs. Turned over Manchester United in the final. I remember I was actually on a bus. We asked the bus driver, I think it was about 11 or 12, what's the score in the FA Cup final? He said Everton are beating Manchester United. And we were like, your radio must be broken. There is no way Everton are beating Manchester United. So these things happen. Look, I'm not saying it's a banker, but I'm going to ditch the XG and Formberg for this week. I'm going to look instead for a bit of deja vu cup magic. Everton to repeat that historic FA Cup run of 29 years ago. And at 50-1, there's definitely worse bets out there.
Okay, well, I guess it's never too early to start drinking in Ireland, but with that said, I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist. 50-1. This is a team that probably will add or try to add someone during that January transfer window. If they get some scoring on this team, you just never know. So I get it. I love those big price futures because the farther they go, you provide yourself with a chance to make money. I know you're not a hedger, but there are the opportunities when you've got a 50-1 ticket if they're into the round of 16 or quarterfinals. Nick, give me your thoughts on this game. I'm guessing you're going a different route.
Yeah, I'll talk about the game at hand here a little bit in depth. Toffees simply can't score. They netted 2 goals through 5 matches, both coming in at 1-2 draw versus Sheffield. But I do believe the goals are coming for this team. Unlike last year, they also couldn't score, but expected goal data had showed a team that couldn't score. This year, they've actually created over 8 expected goals, yet they've only scored those 2. So, I mean, you're assuming here that, of course, they can continue those chances, and I'll explain a little bit why I think that will be the case. But assuming they can, eventually those goals are going to start coming. Brentford, they've been one of the better offensive scoring teams, 8 goals on 10 expected goals, which ranks 7th in the league ahead of United, Arsenal, and Newcastle. So I don't really have much of a concern of them scoring in this match. And if we look back at last season, they scored in all but 2 home matches last year. Only Arsenal and Chelsea kept them off the board. So if you can't tell where I'm going, I'm looking at both teams to score set up here for this match. I don't see Brentford keeping a clean sheet. They've had just so far 1 in the season. It came on the road at Fulham, but in 3 home matches, they've conceded in all 3. All of them ending in draws, actually, as well. They have 2 weak offenses that they've played so far, Palace and Bournemouth. They gave up a goal to Palace. They gave up 2 goals to Bournemouth. So I'm not confident that they have any sort of a defense to keep Everton off the sheet. And again, if Everton's offense was more anemic than they actually are, I might back that. But right now, the underlying data is showing that they are creating a decent amount of chances. They just simply aren't finishing. So maybe that'll continue, but I'll always take a team that I think will create the chances because eventually those law of averages work in our favor. So right now I'm going to go both teams to score, -125. I think Everton can at least get 1, and I see Brentford at least getting 1 or 2 and probably winning the match, but I do like both teams to score a little bit better.
All right, Nick Borrman, WagerTalk.com. Pavlos, I'm going to give you the final thoughts on this game. Nick's looking for some goals, regardless of whether it's just a couple, one from each side. But he's looking at goals here. Where are you looking at? Are we looking at goals? Are we looking at sides, or are we going to the cards market?
Cards market is tricky. Is one of the things I looked at, and I didn't really like it. I completely agree with Kevin. This match could be a goalless draw, could be a 1-0 win for either side. It could be a goal fest. Really, it's one of the most difficult matches to read, at least for me, in my perspective. I think Everton are due for goals. They did bring Beto, which was probably their biggest signing of the off season, and he did score in the cup match. I think he had a really good game against the Sheffield United as well. But again, this offense is not what it used to. What was it, 2-3 years ago? Well, when Calvert-Lewin was healthy along with Richarlison, they were both, one was serving, the other one was scoring. But then Richarlison went to Tottenham and disappeared. Calvert-Lewin disappeared as well. So they've been having a huge goal-scoring problem for, in the past couple of seasons. I think they solved it with just a little bit with Beto. But, Brentford, they're really careless in those first halves. However, they're unbeaten in first halves at home. But one thing is common, goals in first halves. And if you look at Brentford, in 5 matches so far, 4 of 5 had at least 1 goal in the first half. The only one that didn't have was their last match against Newcastle. But you all know how well Newcastle can defend at home, and how Brentford, they lined up with a 5-3-2 formation, 5 defenders, so they were mostly trying to mitigate the damage that they're gonna take. But if you look at Everton. In their away matches, this Everton side both had at least 2 first half goals, and that's where I'm going with here. I'm going to take the first half over 1 goal, -118 at Pinnacle. I think that's a very good price. To be honest, I'm afraid of a push because I wouldn't be surprised by a single goal in that first half. But to be honest, I would be more surprised by a goalless first half than I would be surprised by a multi-goal first half. So give me the first half over 1 goal, -118.
All right, there you have it. Pavlos closing it up with his thoughts on the Brentford Everton game, with looking for a couple of goals in the first half to get us the win there. I'm happy with 2-0 Brentford at halftime. Guys, leave a comment. Let us know what you like in this game and the other games that we're going to be discussing shortly. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you never miss any of these shows with a lot of actionable info on them. With that said, let's get over to one of the derbies happening, Liverpool and West Ham. Liverpool minus 232. The draw is plus 419. West Ham plus 558. Both these teams in action on Thursday in Europa League and Europa League and Europa Conference League action, but both of them in action today at recording. Kev, I'm going to go to you first. I know you've got something to talk about this on this one, but this is where I'm going on. This is what I landed on. I expect to see goals from these two teams on Sunday. I think both teams score. So the BTTS and over 2.5 goals scored is at minus 130. 2-1 either way gets us there. And 5 of the last games between these two, both teams have scored. So that's where I've landed on this one, Kev. Give me your thoughts.
I like Liverpool to win this game, Carmine. I'm shocking no one with that statement right there. We know how much the Europa League means to West Ham this year. You know, they won the Conference League last season, you know, similar to what Roma did in 2021, 2022. This is obviously the next logical step, like Roma, you know, puts you on the next progression towards becoming a bona fide European outfit. But that's not the case for Liverpool. This is a serious step down for them. You don't go from being 6-time European champions, you know, finalists in 2022, champions in 2019, to then suddenly caring about the Europa League. So I don't believe Klopp will care about this competition. I certainly wouldn't in his shoes. And it's definitely not something to be fighting tooth and nail for if they find themselves in the hunt for the Premier League title with around 10 games to go at the start of next year. So similar to what we've seen from Tottenham to start this season, what we saw from Arsenal a couple of seasons ago as well, Liverpool might be better off just going out early in this competition, in all honesty, focusing purely on the league. So despite you know, having no real travel time to speak of and facing fairly weak opposition overall, it's not quite as meaningless a game for West Ham in midweek. So I do believe the mental edge lies with Liverpool here, you know, even though they got the travel over to Austria. But again, line's too short. So what do we pair it with to get some value? Liverpool have won 6 straight against West Ham at Anfield going back to the 2017-2018 season. They've shut out West Ham in half of those fixtures as well. So, you know, the plus 185 on Liverpool to win the nil looks appealing just based off, you know, historic form, getting almost 2-1 on your money. But gun to head, seeing both defenses in action, probably just about side with the slightly lower price Liverpool and both teams to score here at plus 141 instead.
All right, there you have it. Kevin with his thoughts on Liverpool. Kev, I'm good with 2-1 Liverpool final. That gets us both there, I believe. Nick, where are you looking at?
So I'm 100% in agreement with the idea that the Hammers likely get on the board here. Obviously, it looks like Liverpool's down year as well in the rearview mirror as their 4 wins and a draw so far. All signs point, as Kevin mentioned, to them once again being in contention to win this title, definitely with the top 4 spot. But I'm not really sure their defense has improved enough from their championship winning season a couple years ago, but it does look better than last year. However, they're still conceding. They've allowed a goal in 4 of 5 matches, including Wolves and Bournemouth. So no reason to think the Hammers, who are playing very, very well, scoring a lot, confident. They scored against City. They took that early lead before conceding a couple very late to lose that match. So I do think the Hammers can come in here and win. I don't know how much West Ham will put into the match on Thursday in the Europa. And I mean, I do think they're going to try to do well in that competition, unlike maybe Liverpool, as Kevin mentioned. But I do think the Hammers should be able to get looks themselves. This is a very tough spot for them, of course. You play City, and then you play Liverpool in back-to-back games. But they had won their 3 previous matches. They scored a total of 8 goals. They scored in every match thus far this season. I looked exactly at that same prop that Kevin mentioned at first, which was around plus 140, as we saw already. Then I noticed there's another option on DraftKings. You can bet something called correct score bands, which basically is they combine 3 correct scores into one bet. And Liverpool to win 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1 is the band that they offer, and that's at plus 175. So it hits directly off of what Kevin said. I agree with what he's saying. I don't think the Hammers necessarily will score 2 here, but I do like 1. I was looking at the exactly one goal for West Ham as well, and that was a little lower also. So these all seem like very likely finishes. So I'm going to go a little riskier than just both teams to score and a Liverpool win, and take this exact score band 2-1, 3-1, and 4-1 at plus 175 right now in DraftKings.
All right, Pavlos, once again, I'm going to give you the final word. Pavlos, I hope you're with me on this one. I tend to disagree with Kevin and Nick, and hopefully they don't put a hit on me, but I think there is importance in winning the Europa League for a Liverpool, or going to and trying to get to that final, because you look at the Premier League this year, and super competitive. Obviously, Man City, you chalk them and Arsenal as 2 teams that are going to finish in the top 4 and likely first and second. You've got Tottenham there. You've got a very good Brighton team. West Ham are there as well too. Man United are eventually going to start winning some games, you would hope. So it isn't set in stone that Liverpool is going to get a top 4 spot in the Premier League at the end of the season and a berth into Champions League. So their way in very well could be one of their options in is obviously finishing top 4 or winning the Europa League and getting an automatic berth into Champions League. So Klopp said he is not experimenting with his lineup today, being Thursday, the day we're recording. What are your thoughts on this game?
First of all, why did you leave Chelsea out of those teams? Just because they are 14th? Okay, yeah, listen, Liverpool might go on to win the Europa League. That's one school of thought. Since they have so much competition in the EPL, as you said, the clear path to Champions League soccer next season is to win the Europa League, or maybe finish in the top 4. But I don't really live inside Klopp's head. He can be the best manager at times, but I think he's kind of lost it. It's not just the injuries. Something has happened to this Liverpool side, especially their defense, because their offense is performing quite well. And it's really worrisome, the fact that they conceded the first half, the first goal against Wolves. They went on to overturn that result. They conceded the first half against Newcastle. They went on to overturn that result as well. The same happened against Bournemouth. They conceded first and then they won. And when you look at West Ham, they score first, but they don't usually hold on to the result. They scored first against Manchester City, but went on to lose 3-1. They scored first against Luton. They scored first against Brighton, first against Chelsea, and first against Bournemouth. So we got a West Ham side that they're coming out of the gates with guns blazing. They don't really care who they're playing against. They've scored first in each of their 5 matches, and they played Chelsea, they played Brighton, they played City. So that's not really, it's not just random results. They're really out there. And Liverpool, as I said, they tend to concede the first goal against, even the unlikeliest of sides, Wolves, Bournemouth, and you name it. So I think maybe West Ham could, give Liverpool a scare here. I'm just gonna throw this out there just as a prop that I found on DraftKings 2 minutes ago. Liverpool to win from behind plus 550. But that's not my lean here. My lean is both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I think West Ham, keep in mind that last season, West Ham also took the lead against Liverpool in their home match and went on to lose that match. So they're not scared of Liverpool. Nobody's scared of Liverpool at this moment. They know that they have defensive weaknesses and they do try to exploit them. And this it's been a great offense for this West Ham. Their defense is not so much. They haven't kept a single clean sheet so far. So I think this easily must be one of the best, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, not in the Premier League, but in all of Europe this week. So sign me up for that.
All right, I am signing you up, Pavlos. Guys, listen, before we do the final game, which is North London Derby, Arsenal and Tottenham, which also goes on Sunday, I want to mention the show promo. Up until Sunday night, you can use the code Stoppage50, that's Stoppage50, and that'll get you $50 off a 30-day soccer all-access package, which is normally $199. You can drop that down to $149 with that coupon for any of the guys on today's show. So you can use that as many times as you want. So you can use it on all 4 or a combination as well, too. All right, guys, Arsenal and Tottenham. Arsenal minus 138. The draw is plus 328. Tottenham, the Spurs, plus 332 in this one. Once again, I'm going to tell you where I landed, Kev, and then I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going with the Arsenal win and over 2.5 goals because I'm getting plus money on it, plus 125. I think we're going to see goals in this game. Tottenham can score. We know Arsenal can score. Of the 4 games that Arsenal has played thus far at home in all competitions, that includes the Champions League game as well too. All 4 games have had 3 or more goals scored. Arsenal won 3 of them. The one they didn't win was when they're up a man against Fulham and allowed an 87th minute goal for a 2-2 draw. But this has hit in 3 of the last 4 Arsenal home games, and I'm going with it at plus money. So Arsenal and over 2.5 goals plus 125 is where I landed. Kev, let's hear what you've got.
Kind of similar to what I talked about in the previous breakdown as well, Carmine. Tottenham's sole focus in the EPL has really stood them in good stead to start the year. Arsenal will obviously definitely be happy with the start they made in Champions League. Blew out PSV in midweek, but they can't rest on those laurels. Sevilla and Lens, will provide decent tests for them moving forward in that group. Although, they now get a bit of a break. So, look, I talked about Celtic last season. Postecoglou's teams play with absolutely no fear going forward. We've seen that at Tottenham already this year. Doesn't matter where they are, who they're playing. In the league's second highest road XG behind only Manchester City is testament to that. That's how much Tottenham just pour forward in attack. So, Tottenham will be coming there to win, no question. The Battle of North London. And, coming off a short week in European competition, as I say, for Arsenal, I do believe Spurs can get something from this game. So, yeah, I'll take Tottenham plus 3/4 of a goal minus 110. I'll get covered, obviously, if they lose by a single goal. I get half my stake back. But I definitely believe Tottenham can get at least a draw here on Sunday.
All right, Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com. I hope you get half your stake back because that means I win there, Kev. But with that said, Nick, where are we going on this one? North London Derby, Arsenal, the Gunners versus the Spurs. 2 fan bases that if you go to Twitter or the X or whatever it's called on Sunday and you watch their fan bases go at each other, it is something to behold. It's unbelievable. But give us your thoughts on this one.
There's nothing worse than looking back after we do the show and realizing that I agreed with Kevin more often than not. But unfortunately, that's what I'm doing here again. I do think this game has a realistic shot of ending in a draw. I don't really bet draws because I just haven't had any good luck with them. So I kind of agree with Kevin in grabbing the head start on the Spurs. I might go a little riskier on the double chance or plus half a goal, which you're getting plus money on, plus 110. Arsenal, I do think it'll matter here with that Champions League game on Wednesday. Just a few less days to rest, a few less days to prepare. I think that gives the Spurs a little bit of an edge here coming into this match. And clearly the Spurs are a different team this year. They've been great so far to start. Clearly the thing holding them back over the years was Harry Kane. So they're happy to see that dead weight go. Spurs, they've scored 13 goals on 10.8 expected goals. That's 4th most in the league. They sit tied right now, 2nd in the table. Granted, it's been an easy schedule. I know Sheffield, Burnley, Bournemouth. And I guess we're lumping United into that easy schedule category because they clearly stink, or at least they stink defensively. So, but then, they've done what they should do. They've won comfortably in 4 of the 5. They've created more than 2 expected goals in each of their last 4 matches, all wins, nothing ever really in doubt. The Gunners also, you look at their schedule, it's been easy. They started off in that Community Shield game, which called it still a preseason game, whatever. But aside from that, they've had a very, very easy schedule as well. So it's not like they're tested any stronger than Tottenham has been so far. So I think Tottenham is an improved side this year. They're playing with a lot of confidence. You mentioned how much they like to go forward and push the issue. Kevin did. And yeah, they lead the league right now in shots per game, over 20.2. So it just kind of proves Kevin's point that this team will push. And I think that can get a result here. Arsenal did win both meetings last year, but I do think this Spurs side looks different so far. So I do like Tottenham to get something out of this, and I'll go double chance at plus 110.
All right, it's we're going mano a mano here, two versus one. Let's see what Pavlos has to say as he closes out the North London Derby. Tell us where you're going, Pavlos.
I think goals here. Goals have been flying whenever these two sides meet, regardless of venue, but especially at the Emirates Stadium. Both teams to score an over 2.5 goals is 4-0 in the last 4 matches between the two sides at the Emirates Stadium, and 5-1 in the last 6. I totally love what Postecoglou has done with this Tottenham side. He took a struggling side and he turned them into something that they should have been years ago. And it's not like they brought in, star players. Yes, they did have a couple of additions, but they spent far fewer money than other teams in the EPL, and they're doing much better than other teams in the EPL. I'm Chelsea. So, I've seen like a locker room video of Postecoglou. I was afraid of him. Imagine how the players feel, and he transformed. Take Romero for example. I've touched on Romero so many times. He was a moving yellow card last season. He was again lunging at opponents with no regard for human life. But this season he has 0 yellow cards in 5 matches, which is astonishing, and 2 goals. I think he took him at the side. He told him, "Listen, guy, you're a very good player. Stop, losing your mind about stupid stuff and focus." And I think that, he's been instrumental for a psychological reason first, and then by how they play. So I think the Tottenham side will be very dangerous against Arsenal, who, by the way, kept their first home clean sheet in the Champions League match against PSV. The unlikeliest of opponents, because they conceded against Nottingham, they conceded against 2 against Fulham, and 1 against United. The first clean sheet of the season came against PSV, who personally I expected PSV to score. I don't think Arsenal keeping back-to-back clean sheets at home, especially with Tottenham, firing on all cylinders. Tottenham, they lost Perisic with a torn ACL for about 4 months or so, but they have a surprisingly deep roster, and I think they're not going to miss him all that much. So I think there's going to be goals here. Give me both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. What's the price? -116 at Pinnacle, which, by the way, has the best odds out there. I'm not advertising anything. I just think that DraftKings has done something to their odds as of late, and I just look elsewhere for better odds. So both teams to score over 2.5 goals, -116.
All right, there you have it. Pavlos with final word. Brentford, Everton, Liverpool, West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham. Drop a comment. Let us know who you like in these 3 games, or who your best bet is in the Premier League weekend on Saturday and Sunday, with a ton of games happening. Kev, let us know what you have up at WagerTalk, and we'll have a look at your leans on today's show.
Yeah, we got a 5% college football play loaded up for Saturday, Carmine. Plus 146 units, last 232, 4 and 5% top plays, 135 and 92.5 run. And we cashed only other 5% of the season so far by a mammoth 31 points back in week 2 as well. So excited for that one. Weekend soccer plays will be loaded in the next few hours, and just gearing up for the approaching NBA season as well. Number 1 NBA profit leader at WagerTalk since 2018, 5 straight years combined. So exciting time in the world of sports.
All right, Nick, big weekend for you. Let us know what you got going on, and we'll have a look at your leans on today's show.
Yeah, we'll just have a nice MLS card coming up. I have to compile the data from Wednesday's games, but I'll have a big MLS card for the weekend. I'm not sure how much European action I'll have. I'll have a couple, but there's, looking at the card, not a lot I like there right now. But I do have 1 play loaded and available right now on Saturday, and then a Ryder Cup next weekend for the golf fans. So that's a huge, huge event, and that will be a lot of fun next week.
Pavlos, you're having a great soccer season, man. Tell us what you have loaded up for the weekend, and we'll have a look at your leans.
Yeah, I have a 5% for the weekend. I have best bets in the Bundesliga. I'm number 1 in the Bundesliga this season. Best bet in the MLS, number 1 in the MLS this season. And best bet in the EPL, number 2 in the EPL with a perfect 4-0 start. Number 1 in 5% releases and in last 365 days, and number 2 in 5% releases year to date. 4 big plays for the weekend. Maybe you get a 3-day pass and you get all of them for a fraction of the price.
All right, that is a great deal. Those weekend passes are always a great deal. Myself, EPL card will be up later today for the weekend. Of course, a couple MLS games. NFL is up a 5% teaser play, 21-1 in my last 22 teasers over at WagerTalk. 95%. You got to get this one over at WagerTalk. Maybe pick up that 3-day pass. And don't forget, guys, until Sunday night, you can use the code Stoppage50. That's Stoppage50 to get $50 off a 30-day soccer all-access package. We'll be back next Thursday. We're going to talk about the following week's Champions League cards. So for myself, Kevin Dolan, Nick Borrman, and Pavlos Laguretos, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck with your wagers, guys.